Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a really fascinating stack to go through today. I've got my notes, I've got the primary text, and we are tackling a subject that is, well, it's usually the elephant in the room.
Right.
It's that universal, gnawing desire to escape hardship. The feeling, maybe it's a mountain of debt, a job that feels like it's slowly draining your soul, or just that heavy gray feeling of being completely stuck.
The feeling that the walls are closing in.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And usually when we feel that way, our binoculars are pointed strictly outward. We look at the economy, we look at our boss, the government, the bad luck we've had.
Always something external.
But today, we're analyzing a source that grabs those binoculars and forcefully turns them around. It says, the call is coming from inside the house.
It is indeed. We're looking at a foundational text in the self-development canon today.
We are dissecting part one of James Allen's 1901 classic, From Poverty to Power, specifically the section titled The Path of Prosperity. Now, I want to get ahead of something here. When people hear 1901 and prosperity, they might think we're about to read a stiff Victorian lecture or some dated get-rich-quick scheme about railroad stocks.
Which would be a massive misreading. James Allen wasn't a business tycoon. He was closer to what you'd call a literary mystic.
A mystic, yeah.
He wrote this from a place of deep meditation and personal experience. He's not giving you investment advice. He's describing the internal mechanics of how a human life succeeds or fails.
It's more physics than finance, really.
That's a great way to put it. He treats concepts like love and thought as laws, just as rigid and predictable as gravity.
So the mission for this deep dive is to unpack Allen's central argument, which I'll be honest is kind of terrifying.
It is a little.
He argues that evil, and by that he means pain, poverty, sadness, isn't an external monster hunting us down. It's a shadow we create ourselves. And the flip side is, if we created it, we have the power to uncreate it.
It shifts the burden entirely to the individual. It's a radical empowering, but it comes with a heavy dose of responsibility.
Okay, so let's get into the machinery of this. The first big concept Allen throws at us is the anatomy of evil. And I have to say, his definition of evil really caught me off guard.
It's not the definition we're used to. We usually think of evil as like malice or bad people doing bad things or just random tragic luck.
Right.
But Allen defines evil, and he uses this as an umbrella term for pain, sorrow, and misfortune as a passing phase of human experience. He says it is rooted entirely in ignorance.
Ignorance. That feels a bit harsh, doesn't it? If someone is suffering, calling them ignorant feels like adding insult to injury.
I see why it feels that way, but he means it in a very specific mechanical sense. He argues that evil is corrective.
Corrective.
It's remedial. It exists solely to teach a lesson, like a nerve ending sending a pain signal to tell you something is wrong.
So I'm suffering is because I'm bumping up against a law I don't understand.
But essentially, yes. He uses a very vivid analogy to explain this, the child and the candle.
Walk us through that.
Okay, so picture a small child. Every night, this child cries because they want to play with the candle flame on the table.
Okay.
To the child, that flame isn't danger, it's a beautiful dancing toy. The ignorance is the belief that the fire is a plaything. The mother prevents it, but one night, the mother looks away.
And the child grabs the flame.
The child grabs it and screams. That pain is what Allen calls evil. But here is the critical point. Does the child ever touch the flame again?
No. Lesson learned.
Exactly. The burn taught the child the true nature of fire. The ignorance, the belief that fire was a toy, was removed by the experience of pain.
And once a lesson is learned...
The evil of the burn vanishes. It has done its job.
Okay. I follow the logic for a toddler. But Allen says we're all just older children.
We are. We suffer because we don't understand the nature of the things we're striving for. We grasp at greed, or we hold on to resentment thinking it will protect us.
And then we get burned.
We get burned by the consequences. Isolation, stress, ruin, and we call it bad luck. But Allen says it's just the shadow we cast by intercepting the light.
That's the metaphor that really stuck with me. The idea that good or prosperity is like the sun. It's always shining.
And evil is just the shadow.
It has no life of its own.
Which means it can be eliminated. If you remove the object casting the shadow, the darkness disappears. If you remove the ignorance, the suffering vanishes.
I want to push back on this a little bit because I know there's a listener right now thinking, that's a nice philosophy, but bad luck is real.
Sure.
Sometimes the economy crashes. Sometimes people get sick. Is Allen saying that's all in our heads?
He's not saying the event isn't real. He's saying the evil of the event, the suffering and the ruin, is determined by our reaction to it.
Okay.
This leads us to his reflex theory. He says the external world is a reflex of mental states.
What you are, so is your world.
That's the quote. The world is a mirror.
He gives a really stark example of this with the story of the two men who lose their savings. And I want to dig into this because I had a strong reaction to it.
It's a perfect case study for this theory. You have two men. Both lose their hard-earned savings in a bank failure at an early age.
The external circumstance is identical.
Identical. $0 in the account. The event is the same.
Right. Now, man A completely falls apart. Alan says he becomes deeply troubled, gives way to worry, chagrin, and despondency.
And because of that, he remains what Alan calls a sport and tool of adverse circumstances. He stays poor.
But here's my issue. Man A lost his life savings. Isn't he allowed to be upset? It seems like a pretty normal human reaction. It feels cruel to judge him for that.
And that's the hard pill to swallow here. Alan isn't making a moral judgment on whether the man should be allowed to be upset. He's stating a law of cause and effect.
Just, this is what happens.
Whether it's fair or not, Man A's reaction, the worry, the dwelling on the loss, paralyzed him. He clothed the event in ruin, so it became ruin.
Okay, so the universe doesn't care about your justifications. It just cares about your output. So what did Man B do?
Man B reads the news, realizes the money is gone, and says, quietly, well, it's gone, and trouble and worry won't bring it back, but hard work will.
That is intense stoicism.
It is. But look at the mechanism. He didn't waste a single ounce of energy on why me. He immediately pivoted to what now?
And because of that mental shift.
He went to work with vigor and became prosperous again. The evil wasn't the loss of money, it was the reaction.
So we act like projectors. We project disaster or opportunity onto neutral events.
Alan uses a lighter example to show this, the naturalist and the farmhand. It's about how we literally see different worlds.
He describes a muddy pool, right?
Yes. A naturalist looks at a muddy pool of brackish water. Where most people see mess, he sees a million universes. He sees microbiology, life, wonder.
So he's intellectually rich in that moment.
Exactly. And the farmhand standing right next to him.
He sees
an offensive mud puddle full of tadpoles. He sees ugliness. The pool didn't change. The mind looking at it changed.
So if you see the world as a hostile place...
Well, it's because you are harboring hostility. If you see it as a place of opportunity, it's because you are holding opportunity in your mind.
This is a massive pivot from how we usually operate.
Yeah.
It basically removes the right to play the victim card.
It does, and that's why it's controversial. It suggests that the world is just showing you you.
So let's make this practical. We've established that we are creating our reality through these reflexes. But if I'm listening to this and I'm currently in a bad situation, say I'm broke or I'm in a toxic workplace, how do I actually change the reflection?
Alan is very strict here. Before you can change anything, you have to follow the first rule of the way out. Stop complaining.
He really goes hard on complainers.
He does. He says, there is no room for a complainer in a universe of law. He even calls worry soul suicide.
Soul suicide. That is heavy.
It's dramatic, but think about the energy drain. His argument is that if you are complaining, you are proving that you feel you are a victim.
And if you believe you're a victim, you can't be a master.
You're handcuffing yourself.
So what's the alternative? He offers a strategy that I honestly love, even though it sounds a bit like a fairy tale at first. The cottage strategy.
It does sound poetic, but the psychology behind it is rock solid. He addresses someone living in a small cottage surrounded by unhealthy influences who wants a larger, better residence.
And the natural human instinct is to say, I hate this dump. I'm not going to fix it up because I'm leaving soon anyway.
Right. We withhold our effort because we resent where we are. But Alan says you cannot move until you make the current cottage a little paradise.
A paradise. In a place you hate.
Yes. He says you must keep it spotlessly clean, cook your plain food with extreme care. And here's the phrase that is so memorable.
Oh, I know this one.
If you can't afford a carpet, let your rooms be carpeted with smiles, fastened down with the nails of kind words.
I mean, carpeted with smiles. It's easy to roll your eyes at that. But let's dig into the why. Why does cleaning my room or being nice to my roommates help me get a better job? Is it magic?
It's not magic, it's capacity. It's about being a steward. Alan's principle is that you cannot step into greater advantages while you are neglecting the smaller ones.
Right.
Think of it like a weightlifter. If you can't lift the 50-pound weight with perfect form, why would the trainer give you the 100-pound weight?
You just hurt yourself.
Exactly. If you can't maintain order and peace in a small cottage, you certainly can't do it in a mansion or a CEO's office. You have to outgrow the container.
This actually reminds me of that famous speech by Admiral McRaven about making your bed. If you want to change the world, start by making your bed.
Yeah.
It's the same principle, isn't it?
It is. It's the idea that how you do anything is how you do everything. Alan says if you master the poverty, if you can be dignified and happy despite the cottage, you've become too big for the cottage.
And the universe has to move you.
By law, yes. It has to move you to a bigger container.
He applies this to work, too, with the tyrannous master.
This is where people struggle. If you have a horrible boss, Alan says, do not complain. Treat them with gentleness.
Which feels like being a doormat.
But look closer. If you complain or if you let them make you angry, you are reacting. You are a slave to their behavior.
You're giving them the power.
Exactly. By conquering your reaction, by staying calm and kind, regardless of what they do, you are practicing self-control. You are proving that you are superior to the situation. And once you are internally free, the external chains must fall away.
So we've got the defensive strategy. Carpet the cottage, stop the leaks of complaining. Now we need to talk about the engine. How do we actually generate the force to move forward?
This is the shift from coping to creating. Alan pivots here to the silent power of thought.
Right.
He compares thought forces to steam.
Which was the high tech of his day.
It was, and the analogy holds up. Steam that is allowed to escape into the open air is useless. It just evaporates.
But if you can find it.
If you can find that same steam in a piston, it can move a train.
And he says most people are just letting their steam hiss out everywhere.
Right. Every time you worry, every time you vent about your neighbor, every time you get anxious about the news, that is steam escaping. You are dissipating your power.
So what does real power look like? Because we live in a culture that thinks power is loud. It's the guy screaming on the phone or the person with the most followers.
Alan completely inverts that. He compares power to a massive rock, a mountain, or a storm-tried oak. He uses the phrase defiant fixity.
Defiant fixity. I love that.
It's the ability to stand absolutely still when everything else is chaotic. He gives two incredible historical examples to show what this looks like in the wild.
The first was Martin Luther.
Right. Luther is about to go to the diet of worms. He has been warned, do not go, they will kill you, the whole world is against you.
A weaker man would have panicked.
Or fled. And Luther says,
he says, if there were as many devils and worms as there are tiles on the housetops, I would go.
Goosebumps. That isn't bluster. That is total internal alignment. And then there's Benjamin Disraeli. This story is even more relatable for anyone who has ever failed publicly.
Oh man, the Parliament speech.
Picture the scene. Disraeli is young. He stands up for his first speech in the British Parliament. He's dressed a bit strangely. His style is odd. And the room turns on him.
They let him down.
They are jeering.
Yeah.
They are laughing him down. It's a humiliation conga line.
Most people would hide in a hole forever after that.
He had to sit down because they wouldn't let him speak. But as he sat down, he didn't cry. He didn't rage. He said with absolute certainty, the day will come when you will consider it an honor to listen to me.
And of course, he went on to become one of Britain's most famous prime ministers.
That is the silent power. It's what Alan calls poise. It's the ability to hold your internal state independent of the external noise. That calm is the power.
It connects back to the cottage. If you can hold your peace in the cottage, you are building the steam pressure that eventually propels you to the palace.
Precisely. It's all connected.
Yeah. Which brings us to the destination. We're on the path of prosperity. But Alan seems to think we're all chasing the wrong thing.
We are.
He makes a huge distinction between true prosperity and just having a lot of money.
He does, and this is where he introduces the rich miser paradox. He argues you can be a millionaire, have the cars, the houses, but be wretched and mean and poor.
We've all seen that guy. The billionaire who is constantly suing people and terrified of losing a cent.
Alan would say that man is not prosperous. He is actually living in poverty. His soul is starving.
While a poor man could be rich.
Conversely, yes, a poor man with a generous heart and a free mind is the rich one.
But, and this is important, Alan isn't saying money is bad, is he? He's not saying we should all take a vow of poverty.
Not at all. He's saying that if you chase money directly, usually by cutting corners or fearing competition, you might get the coin, but you'll lose the peace.
But if you chase the true prosperity,
which he defines as an internal state of integrity and fearlessness, the resources will follow.
This is where that law of love comes in that we teased at the beginning.
Yes. Alan views love not just as an emotion, but as a binding force of the universe. He argues that if you align yourself with this force, if you act with integrity, if you wish well for others, if you don't fear competition, you are working with gravity.
And if you cheat,
Or if you are unscrupulous, Alan predicts you are drifting toward destruction. Even if that unscrupulous man dies rich, he carries the poverty of soul with him.
he's built his house on sand.
Exactly.
He uses a term for the ultimate goal, the white robe of the heart.
It's beautiful imagery.
It is, though it sounds a little religious for a modern ear. How would you translate white robe for someone listening today who might not be into the mysticism?
Think of it as psychological clarity,
Okay.
or a mind without clutter. The white robe is a mind that isn't stained by fear, anxiety, or resentment. It's a state of total mental hygiene. Alan says if you have that, you are invincible. You have achieved true prosperity.
So the formula is clear the mind of the junk, the fear, the complaining focus on the internal state, and the external world must reshape itself to match.
Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things shall be added. He's taking that spiritual idea and showing us the psychological gears behind it.
So let's zoom out and look at the whole map we've covered today. It's a pretty rigorous path.
It is. It starts with the understanding that the world is a mirror. The evil or the bad luck you see is often a reflection of a lesson you haven't learned yet.
Then we move to the way out, which is shockingly practical. Stop complaining. Clean up your immediate environment.
Carpet the cottage with smiles, which builds the capacity for bigger things.
And finally, we harness that steam, the silent power of thought, by staying poised when the world tries to shake us.
All leading to that state of internal clarity. True prosperity.
The biggest takeaway for me, and the thing that's probably going to keep me up tonight, is the total removal of the victim excuse.
It is the most challenging part of the book. It's terrifying because you have no one left to blame. You can't blame the economy or your parents or your boss. But, and this is so what, it is the most empowering thing you can possibly hear.
Because if you made the mess,
You can clean it up. You are, as Alan puts it, the maker of your destiny. You are the weaver of the garment of your life.
if the fabric is rough, it's because of the thread you're using.
Change the thread, change the thought, and the fabric changes.
I think we need to leave our listeners with a specific challenge. If the world is a mirror, we need to ask them to look at their reflection.
I would challenge everyone listening to pick one thing, just one specific thing in your life right now that frustrates you. Maybe it's a strained relationship, a stalled career, or just a chaotic schedule.
And instead of asking, why is this happening to me?
Ask, what thought or habit in me is this reflecting? Is the chaos in your schedule a reflection of chaos in your mind? Is the hostility at work a reflection of your own defensiveness?
Identify the mirror.
Acknowledge it, and then start weaving a new thread.
Dive deep and tread the path. Thanks for listening.